A notary is presented with a power of attorney, POA, document by Mr. Franklin, who is granting his niece, Lisa, authority over his financial affairs. Mr. Franklin appears confused and is unsure whether the POA allows Lisa to manage his real estate properties. Lisa insists that it does and encourages him to sign. The notary verifies their identities using valid IDs. What should the notary do? To help us answer this question, let's have a look at section 182.3 of the Notary Public License Law booklet entitled Requirements for Notaries. And if we look at subsection B, it states, a notary may refuse to perform a notarial act if the notary public is not satisfied that, subsection 1, the principal is competent or has the capacity to execute a record, and or, subsection 2, the principal's signature is knowingly and voluntarily made. So with this in mind, let's have a look at our four choices to determine the solution. Choice A states, proceed with the notarization because both parties have valid identification and are physically present. While it's true that both parties have valid identification and are physically present, what this choice ignores is the fact that Mr. Franklin appeared confused and unsure. Therefore, the notary public has to call into question whether or not Mr. Franklin is signing knowingly and voluntarily. Because the notary public has a doubt in this regard, the notary public should not be proceeding with the notarization, and therefore choice A is not the correct solution. Choice B states, refuse to notarize the document due to Mr. Franklin's confusion and recommend he seek legal advice before signing. Now this aligns with the law that we read from before, because the notary public is uncertain as to whether or not Mr. Franklin is signing knowingly and voluntarily, and because the notary public cannot give legal advice to anyone having not been an attorney, it's prudent for the notary public to suggest to Mr. Franklin that he should obtain legal advice before signing. But before we mark this as the correct solution, let's have a look at choices C and D just to be certain. Choice C states, ask Lisa to explain the document more clearly to Mr. Franklin and proceed if he appears to understand afterward. Now, the issue with this choice is that Lisa is an interested party here because she is the one who would be receiving the power of attorney from Mr. Franklin. What the notary public should ensure is that Mr. Franklin receives independent advice and also advice from an attorney. The question does not state that Lisa is an attorney herself, and even if she was, because she has an interest here, Mr. Franklin should anyways be getting an independent opinion. Therefore, choice C is not the correct solution. And finally, choice D states, notarize the document as long as Mr. Franklin consents to sign, as it's his decision to authorize the powers. Now, while that may be the case that it's his decision, the notary public still has to be satisfied that Mr. Franklin's decision is being made knowingly and voluntarily. Because the notary public cannot be certain of that at this juncture, the notary public should not be notarizing the document, and therefore choice D is not the correct solution, which indeed leaves choice B, refuse to notarize the document due to Mr. Franklin's confusion and recommend he seek legal advice before signing, as the correct solution.